The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, good morning. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. Thanks for keeping it to Alternative Digital, where we stream live on our Facebook pages. That's the Alternative Uganda, and also the Digital TV and YouTube channel. Later on, when we are done here, every Wednesday we are blessed to have Justice Kanyeihamba from 11 up to 1 or thereabout, where he digs deeper into the topical discussions as they have transpired ever since we last met. That's last week. Justice Kanyeihamba, say hello to our viewers and then we shall proceed.
Hello viewers, nice to be with you once again. Good morning.
Okay. Today we have a variety of topics to handle, and one of the leading ones before we came on air, he tried to reach Honorable Matia Kasaija. Share with the viewers, why were you calling Honorable Kasaija?
Honorable Matia Kasaija has been a friend of mine for a long time, and we started the NRM together, and he's one of the few ministers, when I call, he answers immediately. That's why I started with him. I have been shocked this morning to read in Daily Monitor an article describing what happened to free sheets of iron sheets donated to help the people of Karamoja, on whom I have talked about before, many of whom, over 100, have died of hunger. And therefore, when I read this story of the people who shared the money intended for the people of Karamoja, who are dying of hunger, and I discovered that the name of my friend, Matia Kasaija, among them.
You have many friends. You even have Kadaga, you have Jacob.
Yes, I'm going to talk about them.
So you have
I was not only shocked, then I said, Uganda is gone forever. The Uganda was born in, the Uganda I praise and love at the part of Africa. Everyone is corrupt, assuming there. Honorable Kadaga is a trustee of Kanyeihamba Foundation. Just as others like Bete Bigombe, you know their history in the governance of the movement, is also a trustee. And having talked to Honorable Bigombe, But if she hears what I'm going to say, I am sure she will also be shocked. Now it is said that among those who shared the iron sheet meant for the hungry, the dying in Karamoja, include Right Honorable Kadaga Rebecca, who I was happy she agreed to be a director of Kanyeihamba Foundation. But she received how many?
As for Kadaga, she has 500 iron sheets under voucher number 8519.
I am shocked. Rebecca, you owe this country an apology immediately if that is true. You need to explain yourself immediately. If you are genuinely a trustee of the Kanyeihamba Foundation, of which I am a mere director. This is shocking. My friends.
You have Jacob Oboth or both?
Who?
Jacob Oboth.
Jacob Oboth, I am amazed.
State Minister for Defense.
That you also took part in this scandal and received iron sheet. You recall when you called me to Parliament, you are a committee of one of the parliamentary committees, chairman, you are chairman.
I think illegal. It was a
and you people listen to me. What I said and what you said is in one of my books. No, this is not true. I'm living in a nightmare. Mr. Honorable Obos, you also partake, share in these iron sheets. Unless any of you sues Monitor as lying and gives explanation, I'm hoping the three of you who are my friends, you are friends of Kanyeihamba. I have sent all of you my book, The Defeat of President Museveni on Corruption. And he agrees, Nabanja agrees, the IGG, Betekeme agrees. You must either explain publicly what this article means or resign, offer to resign now. Please, if you believe in the Kanyeihamba Foundation, if you are a friend of mine, and one time I wrote a book in which I describe both of you as the women I have loved. The book is available, you can get a copy. Oh my God.
Just to have an insight of this article.
Yes.
Precisely here, that the Prime Minister, Robert Anabanja, has explained that her office is working with detectives to investigate allegations of the diversion of a relief item meant for Karamoja region. Down here, the total number of iron sheets that is said to have been given to, rather shared amongst themselves, is 5,500 iron sheets, out of simply 12,200.
Oh God.
And the list here, as per the newspaper and Monitor of yesterday, 21st, 2023, it has the list of beneficiaries as being Honorable Mariku Kaduchu, 200, Rebecca Kadaga, 500, Jacob Oboth, 300, Rukia Nakadama, 300, Matia Kasaija, 300, Kitutu Mary Goretti, 3,000, Obua Dennis, also a minister, 300, Rugorowi Amos, 300, Buino Chakulaga, 300, totaling to 5,500. And all these are ministers.
Those of us who are Christians, you should remember that today is also Ash Wednesday. And Ash Wednesday celebrates the coming of Lent, which is a very, very important day in Christianity. To imagine that these are all Christians and the Catholics and have stolen money intended for the hungry and the dying is one of the greatest scandals. Today, we are issuing already commissioned affidavits to the Archbishop of Uganda, to the Archbishop of Kampala, to the President of the Uganda Law Society, and to the Deputy Chief Justice of Uganda, Butera, and to the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Doro Owinye, who have all told me in the name of God that the Constitutional Court of Uganda made the terrible mistake to rule that the President Museveni is above the law and above God.
In that,
we have also sent a copy, rather an affidavit for the Mufti of Uganda to sign that he believes the Constitutional Court made a mistake to rule that President Museveni is above Allah and the law.
okay, it's the same angle through which I would want you to do. I do not know whether you watched Honorable Mau's statement yesterday.
It was repeated even this morning.
And for me, maybe you have to clarify about what did he contradict in regards to saying that bail, because off record you said bail isn't right. But
it is not.
Maybe you could disable.
And here, President Museveni will agree with me. Bail is not a right guaranteed in our Constitution, but the right to apply for bail is the one which is the right. The right to bail, not bail. And here is a man who is now the Minister of Justice of Uganda. Not only that, but also of constitutional, of the constitutional, what do we call them?
Constitutional affairs.
Constitutional affairs. Here is a man who is said is a land man of the law. But he doesn't know the Ugandan law. You Ugandans, why are you keeping quiet every time? I am tired of talking. You help me to clean this country. The other day I mentioned that the chairman of the presidential anti-corruption unit was corrupt. I wanted to modify that. I suspect he is, because later he explained why he behaved like that. However, the president of the Uganda Law Society told him that the agreement is relying on is null and void because it was forged. Let me tell you an example of forgery. Kanyeihamba is an expert on law, particularly relating to urban development, ownership, and the sale. Apparently, the lease I gave a foreigner called Sasu, says that I granted him my lease for 99 years, automatically renewal for 99 years. Was I mad? A person who is an expert on law can give a list like that. Now, the general, who I think is ignorant of the law, the president of the Uganda Society told him, this list is illegal. And if it is true, Kanyeihamba and the Sasu should be arrested for committing a crime. This is the president of the Uganda Society telling general, it's okay. If this contract is full, Kanyeihamba and the foreigner should be arrested. In other countries, he should be deported from Uganda. But in Uganda, a foreigner who does what he does is automatically convicted of a crime. You don't need evidence. And he forfeits the land he's developing from my property illegally. It's okay, I said, therefore you should tell him that his rights in Kanyehamba's land are automatically cancelled. It's okay, has not done so. He should be asked, why haven't you stopped Sasu
from
Makeo,
Spangard.
stopping him developing the land illegally?
Okay, our viewers, we are here trying to discuss a variety of issues, as you have heard from Justice Kanyeihamba. I want to take you back to Honorable Mao.
Oh yeah, I forgot that one. Oh, I answered it.
Yeah,
bail is not a right per se,
but it's
but the right to apply for bail, which may be rejected or allowed by the court, is what is the right.
Okay.
So Mao, our Minister of Justice,
And the Constitutional Affairs
doesn't know the law, but he claims he's Minister of Justice. Justice for channeling out iron sheets intended for the hungry and the dying among the ministers.
Okay.
Are you the justice of that injustice, minister of that injustice? But if you are in justice of Uganda, you don't know the law, sir, says Kanyeihamba.
Okay, I want to take you again, because previously when we met here, we were trying to discuss about the alleged negotiations of Ewan Segirinya and Sewanyana. So that story has been trending and still moving on. So yesterday, your friend Honorable Mao had a press conference, and where he stated, among others, he said that there are extremists in NRM, and so is opposition. That those who say Museveni must be here forever are bad wishers of this country. And also those who say, whether crook or crook, so as long as Museveni is away, no matter how he goes, they are also problems of this country. He went ahead and to say that he believes in diplomatic dialogues. He added that him and another sneaked themselves, that's the word he used, and went to Chigo prison to meet the jailed MPs. And he said he couldn't brag or take photos of him and another person meeting the jailed people. He added that his contribution, he's not a judge, neither is he a DPP, but he is influential, and he will not tell the public what he contributed towards their release. What do you have to say?
First, if he said that, that is a disastrous statement in the annals of Uganda history. Because if you are the Minister of Justice, you don't go and negotiate about bail. If you are the Minister of Justice in the NRM government, you don't go and negotiate bail for a party You used to be a member, but you are no longer is. He's a wanted man by the Democratic Party. How do you go to go negotiate? You are minister. Minister of Justice should be neutral, not negotiate bail. Bail is granted or refused at the discretion of a Uganda court, not on the pleading or the intimidation of the Minister of Justice. We are not still a banana republic, but we are becoming the first Sodom and Gomorrah land of Africa. Please, today I'm coming to see you, Archbishop of Kampala. I am coming to see the Archbishop of Uganda. I'm coming with witnesses. You must sign. This is the order of God. You must sign the document declaring the judgment that President Museveni is above the law and is above God. You must. If you are not there, I will leave it at your residence today, and you must answer it within 2 days. All you have to do is put your signature on there. That applies to Mufiti of Uganda, whom I am donating my book, Allah is God.
Okay. In the same line, he added that this case had been politicized, and if it had
that
the case had been politicized, had it not been people politicizing such a case, most likely Segirinya and Sewanyana, perhaps they could have come out earlier. I want to ask you, have you been in your service as either Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs and also Attorney General, and also when you were a judge, have you been faced with such controversial circumstances where
never
where political prisoners have been brought to you, and perhaps you have to either engage the president, maybe pleading on their behalf or something like that?
I have never, and the President Museveni is my witness. If they were still alive, President Lule and the President, I never met him, would have been my witness. You let the law take its place. Now that Museveni said, I will let the law take its place about the right to bail, and if I'm no longer interested in Kanyehamba's petition, he withdrew. The judges who said he won the election knew he was no longer party to the proceedings. They were led by my friend who I once recommended to be the Chief Justice of Uganda before Alfonso Dorowine came on in Gondanten. He used to visit me here. I used to sympathize with him. He would tell me what is happening for me. Now he no longer calls me. So what I am going to do when we have served these petitions today, I will pass at his office. I will ask his secretary to call him, say, Kanyeihamba is here, please can you talk to him? And next Wednesday, I will report the answers I get.
When you were hearing General Sejusa's matter, did you get any calls or any influence here and there in regards, because it was more or less political in nature?
Nobody could ever. Because when you are a true judge and you are honest, I'll tell you what happened. Somebody who didn't know my character called the NRM establishment, and they said we better also persuade Kanyeihamba.
That's in the petition?
In the petition of 2006. We better call him, tell him, if you give judgment against the interests of the NRM by not supporting President Museveni, we shall dismiss you And we shall dismiss all your colleagues who said,
who would allow the petition.
who agree with you that NRM didn't win. And then they were devised. You don't talk to Kanyeihamba. Kanyehamba's integrity and the truth is such that he's lucky to tell the whole world that the government approached him to change his mind. We don't want that. I can give you privately the person who said that.
Okay,
you can go and ask him.
Our viewers, we are keeping it TikTok. I want to ask you something. Last week, Thursday, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Uganda commemorated the assassination, should I even call it an assassination, or the murder of Janan Luum, whom I'm sure by the time he was murdered, you were very old enough, and of course you had served in the previous government.
Not only was I old enough, but I think I was already teaching as a younger lecturer at Makerere. So I knew him very well. First, my former friend, rather late friend, James Obor, we were summoned together with whom he was then
Archbishop.
he was just a bishop. We were summoned by the late bishop, Archbishop Sabit, Erika Sabit, the Archbishop of Uganda then. And he had invited Terry Waite. Many Christians will remember Terry Waite. He was an English Christian who later was captured by the Arab terrorists and imprisoned, detained for a number of months. So we made the Uganda Protestant constitution, the constitution of the then province of Uganda,
which was stretching to Congo, because I understand that the Archbishop would go up to up to West Africa, up to Congo.
Part of Congo,
Eastern Congo.
Something I forget, were part of the Uganda Anglican Church. So whoever was Eric, I believe even part of Ruum, Sabiti, Archbishop Vadia, the first African Archbishop of the Anglican Church. He's a man well known. He never wore shoes. He always went around barefooted.
The first African bishop?
Yes. And his name was Badia. He was from the Kingdom of Toro. He was our first Archbishop. And when he retired, Sabit
took over. From Sabit to Luum.
From Sabit from Sabit to Luum, I think.
Now the question.
To Obos of somebody called Obos. We were talking about Obos. We had an Archbishop who was a very strong UPC man.
Obos. Was he Obos? That's a minister. That was a minister who was also killed by a man.
He was an artist, I think, or Chapadora, who followed Sabit.
So the questions around the Lumu's assassination or murder, for another word. You were here.
I was in the UK.
You weren't here.
I was teaching law in the UK when you had the news. That is what forced me to join the NRM as a human rights activist. I never had any army. I don't even know how to shoot a gun. But my faith in God forced me to become an NRM operative. And I was recruited by none other than the greatest African missionary anywhere, Chivenjiri, First Chivenje. I know this history very well.
The questions I have in regards to Lumo's
Yes.
death might take us quite some time. I do not know whether we could break for 2 also minutes and then come back, because there are lots. First of all, is to find out from you on whether we can, we have or we can have consistent activists who are clergy, like like Lumu, for lack of another word, if I could apply that.
Like Lumu,
yeah, and
like Sabiti,
yeah, and others.
Obankode, later to become the rather the Archbishop of Uganda, like Chivenjeri. All those
we are strong pro-human rights,
and they was only protecting and defending the word of God, not politics. Today's religious leaders only support the movement. They are hypocrites. And I'm going to tell them today if I meet any of them. Why have you not denounced the constitutional judgment which holds Museveni, who was not a party to that dispute, he had withdrawn, is above God and the law.
Okay.
I hope some bishops are listening. There's a bishop who came to see me yesterday, rather last weekend. He's a younger bishop, not archbishop, a younger bishop. And when I told him what the court did, he broke into tears. He said, "You mean there are people?" I think it's called Mugarura or whatever. Priest Mugarura. And then I told the Mufti of Machindia here. His name is Abdul. His name.
The one Rubega.
Rubega, yes. He denounced the judgment as Antichrist. But the bishops of Uganda are keeping quiet.
We shall hold it there for just
today we are going to see them.
For just a minute, and then we come back.
Okay,
we'll
thank
continue
you.
with the comparison between the present clergy,
yes,
and the likes of Lumo and others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Viewers, we're coming back shortly.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Viewers, welcome back from that brief break that we had. We are trying to dig deeper into a variety of issues that made news rather this last week. As we went into a break, there were some pending questions which I wanted Justice Kanyeihamba to address. One of them was on whether or not the present clergy are that assertive and strong enough to speak truth to power the same way Loom did, and you were saying that.
My view is that the current clergy and the muftis, if we can call them church leaders, only succumb and respond to what the NRM or President Museveni wants. They don't criticize it. They respond. Because, really, to give you an example, this judgment was given about 2 weeks ago. No bishop, apart from the ones I have mentioned, have said anything. But Archbishop Semogerere of Kampala recently was reported to have thanked President Museveni for good leadership. Oh, shame on you, Semogerere. Do you believe that he's also above God? Say so now. If you want us to believe you that you are man of the God, say today, I don't agree with the judgment which says Museveni is above the law and above God. Why are you silent? The Archbishop of Uganda. Why are you silent?
So what causes that they lack that confidence to speak?
So
to
they
people?
lack that confidence, which Sabit had, which the late Canon Bikangaga had, which Bishop Chivenjeri had, which today is only possessed by people like Cardinal Wamala, my friend. He's the only one in Uganda who has ever invited me to address a congregation in his church because he believed in my belief in justice and God. One judge, one bishop whom I mentored and helped to become a bishop, when I told other people that he drinks a bit of what we call in Ruchiga, he abandoned me and he no longer talks to me. I sent him books.
Because you reported him. Now, why would you report him? Because you reported him for...
And the person I was talking to were none other than Wakana Rugunda, who doesn't drink, and the Archbishop, then Archbishop of Uganda, Ntagadi, who is from my district in Rwanda. And you know what happened? They all sinned, and Ntagadi did worse. Archbishop of Uganda, the leader of the Anglican community, committed adultery in holy clothes.
I want to ask you, some viewer was asking before this show in regards to why Lumo in particular, and you do not hear any people from the Muslim faith that had been rather hunted by Amin that are known, if they are there. Is it because perhaps Amin was one of them and therefore he had issues with Christians? And
No, when you look at the list of martyrs who died during Idi Amin's terrorism, they include Muslims. So some of those Muslims are there, and I'm writing another book where I mention them. Those of them received a book called Kanyeihamba's Commentaries on Muslim Leadership Crisis in Uganda. I have told them that book was forged by a man called Dr. Chisule, who was ambassador in the East. And he was encouraged by the NRM to rewrite my book my manuscript which I sent there. So I have replaced it with my own, which should be the content of that book, called Allah is God, which is true. So
they were Muslims.
There were Muslims who were also martyrs.
But
and I mentioned them in my book.
But this, there is a corridor talk that most likely Luumo and others had been set.
Have been what?
Had been set by you people, by people who were fighting Amin, and definitely as a president, he had to look for whoever was against his government. Yeah,
no, that's what it is true that Amin would look for those and kill them if they were
against
his government. That is true. But Luumo was also against his government, because the government was killing Christians and other people. And no leader of the church or the Moscow can see a government butchering his supporters, God's people, and they keep quiet. So I'm proud to say that Luumo was definitely against Idi Amin.
Because the very talk also goes ahead to say that Luumo was pro-UPC, having been a Protestant and perhaps a friend to, because also one wonders that when Daud Ocheng wanted to, when he tabled a motion of
in
Parliament against Obote that he should be impeached, Luumo is one of the people the strong people that supported Daud Ochenge's petition. But then that would mean that he wouldn't be an enemy of Amin as soon as just 1971.
But what is Uganda? Don't you think ahead or behind? Do you remember a man called Judas Iscariot? Who was chosen by Christ himself, whom we Christians regard as a God? What happened?
And betrayed him straight away.
Come on. Try to think a little more. When I tell you that Luumo was the Archbishop, he was the Archbishop of the Anglican Church. Therefore, anything Protestant which is dealing with the word God, he would support, of course. But he was not a partisan
UPC or anything.
He was not a partisan member of the of the Protestant party called UPC. He was not.
Okay.
But some of our people are.
Apparently, yeah. They subscribe to political party.
That's the difference.
But you have had, I'm sure you have either read or had news about your friend also, Kazimba Mugaru, now the Archbishop of the Anglican Church here, with attempts of breaking away from the Canterbury Church. Is that sustainable? Is it practical?
Yes.
You have been in UK. Do you agree? So now whom would you support?
And I support him 100%. But it is not he who started it. Other bishops before him, certainly Bishop Ntagadi.
Yeah.
I know my friend Bishop Katwe CJ and the others had nearly broke away from the church because they were opposed to homosexuality. The Church of Uganda abhorrently fights sexuality, and I do. Because one time I was near a victim, if you read my book. When I visited Germany as a student, a man nearly raped me. And when I said, but I am a man.
These things began as early as then.
Huh?
So the homosexuality thing, scene, or whatever name began as even when you were young.
Oh yes.
People in Germany.
And the Church of Uganda, and I think the former and the present leadership of the Church of Uganda, and I'm sure even the Catholic Church is against it, for being anti-homosexual. Because for me, being homosexual is unnatural. God never meant the same sex to sleep sexually together. He never did. I believe very strongly that homosexuality is against the rules.
So did you report to that person who wanted to rape you when you were in Germany?
I reported what?
Did you report that person
who? Yes, I did. I even went to the police in Germany, but they did nothing.
So are you of the view that it's okay for the Church of Uganda to break away from the...
Yes, not only that, there is a diocese in America, USA, which broke away from their own religious leadership to join Uganda. For them, they declared that we are a diocese of Uganda because the Church of Uganda does not like homosexuality. Therefore, whoever is anti-homosexuality, including Honorable Janet Museveni, whom they continue calling, and I hope the Monitor, led by a friend of mine, and New Vision editor, they continue receiving and publishing articles, the first lady. But in our language, the Ruchiga Runyankole and Runyashtara generally, when you say this is the first lady, you mean
there should be second
he is one of you, is second or third and fourth wife, and you are married to more than one wife.
So with the...
But as far as I know, Museveni has got only one wife. I believe he is faithful to her. So to say that, continue implying
First lady.
You, Karinachi, and the editor of New Vision, that Museveni has more than one wife. If I was Museveni, I would sue you for defamation of character.
Briefly, about the practicability, because as far as I have read, the young bishops or such religious people who want to become bishops and priests attain their education from UK, in particular Canterbury, and some other institutions. Is it practical that once your friend and others break away, that they will sustain it here and train their own people and be ordained here?
Oh yes, the USA Data Diocese. It's a whole diocese, which is now part of the Uganda Church leadership. Can have people, priests coming to study here. And our bishop, you have mentioned, can enthrone them as the bishops, deacons, and the priests. No problem on that one.
Okay, our viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba, and we have a few other concerns which we want him to also comment about. Now we're going back to NUP. Last week, one of the NUP MPs accused a fellow MP also, that's Dr. Bedi Wanika. I remember him when he contested for president in 2006.
He's now NUP?
Yeah, he is. So he was pointing on to his fellow MP, Namboze, and accusing her of being a beneficiary of the beneficiary of the government resources. And he was in particular referring to the treatment that Namboze had in the US and the government spent a lot of money onto her. But that was in line with how people have pushed him for having suggested that there should be mediations or dialogues to release people who are in jail that belong to the opposition. One of the concerns here is that you judges have closed yourselves in chambers with victims and their lawyers, isn't that also termed as a negotiation? He was referring to the massacre justice and how the bail to Alan Sewanyana and Segirinya were granted.
I am opposed to any changes or alterations or suggestions that change how we apply for
Bail.
and get bail. The right to bail, not the right to
Apply.
not the right to bail, because that is not in the law. I hope that
People get the difference between Mao and others.
we apologize to the public. There is no such as the right to bail. There is a right to apply for bail. And whether they grant it or refuse it is at the discretion of the courts.
So why
but
do
the courts don't act blindly.
Why do you close yourselves in the
No,
chamber?
wait a minute. In coming, whether you refuse bail or grant it, you are advised by other people. The prosecutors will say things, this man is dangerous, don't give him bail. His lawyers will say, we have evidence that he's an honest well man. The court has the power to call somebody else, like Mao. But they wouldn't call Mao because they say Mao is disqualified to give us advice because he's the Minister of Justice. He has no business advising on bail when you are the Minister of Justice.
But
but he can make a law.
Much as he went there, I said
He can make a law adjusting bail, the right to bail. President Museveni was going to do that until we petitioned the court. Now, if you see somebody told their boss, the boss of NBS, has prevented them from ever mentioning Kanyeihamba in their newspaper. Boss don't. So when this same Ogerere, what was his colleague?
Which?
They were asked to comment on their right. They never once mentioned Kanyeihamba met us, and he said he was going to fight for the right to bail. They never mentioned that my petition for the right to bail was dismissed by a corrupt or intimidated constitutional court, including Justice Ngonda Ntende, Justice Mugenyi, Justice Elizabeth Musoke, among others.
Why do you?
They didn't. So why don't you ask? When you are going one time to bail, Kanyeihamba found you there. And he said, I'm fighting for you, for your bail rights, for bail to be determined by the courts of law. When you are discussing why didn't you mention him? A man who has been slaving for you for a long time is called the mayor of Kampala. What is his name?
And yes.
Yes, Ukwago. Why didn't you mention him? That he was helping you to get bail.
The question.
This, holier than thou, not mentioning other people who have done the work for you, is a curse on Uganda, including some Ogere's belief that he should not mention you, Kanyeihamba, who helped, because of the way he had been refused bail, to petition the Constitutional Court for his benefit. Same Ogere, MP, why didn't you mention Kanyeihamba?
The question
in your talk on why you were granted bail, come on.
Why do people consider it a negotiation when you close yourselves in chambers with only lawyers and they are chosen, because that's one of the issues that was raised when Sewanyana and Seginya were released. The onlookers said,
when you are negotiating, and I tell you the reason. Do you want everybody to know you are a criminal? Do you want when you are innocent? Do you want everybody to say you slept with your mother? Of course you don't. So courts consider decency. And this is done in the chambers, not in open market,
open court,
or ministers' offices. That's why the hearing of the right to bail, whether you grant or not, is done in the chambers, not in the open market. It's not a slogan for which you have to do the campaign publicly. It is absolutely prohibited for the Minister of Justice to negotiate for bail. Absolutely incredible and obnoxious for anyone else other than the lawyers and their choosers and their choosers to discuss it in private and negotiate it in the market. Our law not only forces us to be just, but also decent. Because our people are such gullible that even if they would say Kanyeihamba is innocent of rape, they would continue believing I committed a rape because they paid me a lot of money, or they paid somebody a lot of money. That is the kind of society we have. Therefore, you have to avoid people being accused falsely or say they committed their adultery with the incest with their mothers when it is not true, so that things are settled in court with all the parties there. That's enough. You don't need a public show.
Okay, there are two other headlines that I want you also to have. To have your insight before we close the show. And in particular, I will begin with the second last. The peers of the Ministry of Finance said that in their
remember, we are going to link again after this show.
That in their budget of 2022-2023, they are stopping any allowances and travel allowances to the rest of the ministers and government officials, restricted to only the president, vice president, speaker, and deputy, and I think chief justice and the deputy. Is that practical that we can have only those four? I think there are 6 government officials to travel on our taxpayers, and the rest that they should facilitate their travels, especially with our parliament, which enacts its own, it passes its own budget.
Uganda is still recognized as an independent state in the world. In the last show, which people forget, I said we are unable to pay our way because we earn less than we spend. I said so last show. But Uganda has not died. It's not like Sodom and Gomorrah, which was wiped off the earth. We are still a state. We still require representation,
donations and grants.
That's right. And therefore the government is right.
It's a good move.
Yes, to say we limit these things which are not essential for the survival of Uganda. And obviously to limit the travel to deputy prime ministers, to
the president,
vice president, president, is correct. if you believe what Honorable Kasaija Matia, my friend, whom we are going to call again after this show, and the people hear him, or not hear him, if he's not available, has said, we can't pay our way. Do people forget when you say you are paid? There is a novel by Charles Lamb of UK. He said, if you are a householder and you spend your income and you save 1 shilling, you are a lucky man. If you spend 1 shilling more than you earn, you are bankrupt.
So for now, that's a good move that we are
Yes.
going to reduce on to the
The
expenses.
government has to adjust.
All we need to.
And the one thing before we call him, when I discussed with Matia Kasaija, my friend, he said many countries are temporarily in that situation. It is true. Many developing countries especially, but even in those like UK, occasionally are in international debt. That means they have spent more
than they
earn.
earn. Someone just asked whether, when you asked the Prime Minister to come for the donation, whether she did come. Did she? Did she come?
She didn't. That is one of the problems I have with the Prime Minister and the Vice President, Alupo.
Yeah.
I called them to come and I have a contribution to make so that many Mukaramajonga West are saved from West. They have never responded.
Oh, it was a blessing in disguise. It could have joined this man, the iron sheets that they used if they had
I
come.
think that's why they didn't come, because they knew they were corrupt.
Mutale Farooq Hussein says, the church is now another political reference for Mr. Museveni. That's why Mutale Farooq Hussein says that the church is now another political reference for Mr. Museveni. That's why the likes of pastors, bishops, reverends always go there to worship at State House for guidance from the small God.
I agree with him. But I agree with you, that is very sad for our country. And you have reminded me, when they go to State House to worship the small God, do you know who speaks to us? The small God. He shouldn't be giving a prayer. Only the Archbishop of Uganda or of Kampala should be allowed to close the prayer, not Museveni. So that proves that the questioner now today is absolutely right.
He adds another comment, but his religious minister was not a Muslim. So my big question is still, who killed these religious people?
Who was not what?
That his minister for, I don't know whether he used to be a minister for religious affairs, that he wasn't a Muslim. And now this viewer wonders who used to kill such religious. They
were opposed to Idi Amin. So he was calling those people who are opposed to his regime. As simple as that. That's why he killed them.
Okay.
Even though they were not Muslims.
Conclusively, there was a suggestion by, because you are in academia and want to hear your view, there was a suggestion by UNEB that A-level students be allowed to resit any exam that they fail rather than repeating the whole year. So assuming you have failed economics, you just come and resit one paper. And then you call that a year. Because previously it's been you sit the whole year.
I used to be external examiner for the East African certificates. In the UK, I was external examiner for Cambridge certificates. I was also internal examiner at Cambridge and Oxford Warwick, and the University of Wales. When Mr. I think he was called Professor Dr. Kanyeihamba was the chairman of the National Council for Higher Education, he used to invite me regularly to give talks. I recently mentioned about my nephew who got a first and was admitted to Kigezi High School. And when he got there, the man told me, your nephew cannot afford to be in Kigezi High School. I said, what? Because he doesn't understand English.
Had first grade, but couldn't
Yes.
understand English.
So I asked him, why did you have first grade? When you were in your school, he was in Winyoro. Then he told me that when the examination came, the school headmasters called us to assemble in our schools, and we copied from examination, which were distributed to us.
And
that's why I got a first class.
First
I
grade.
was a good copier. I didn't know the answers which were there, but I copied
I copied
them.
and had my
But
first
let
grade.
me tell you the shocking thing. And I think this man to ask the parents and to ask the Minister of Education of Uganda, why did you put names of pupils who passed PL and the O level
In newspapers.
and their pictures in the newspapers? When the professor from Victoria University, and if the Minister of Education denies, I will even go to the Victoria University, call that man, to give us a copy of his discussion. He said, all these people who are being praised, having their pictures put in the newspaper 2-3 times, taking 4-5 papers, they all copied from examination already made, or rather already answered by hired
Machine.
experts. Therefore, none of them should be praised for having passed first class.
It's the same question
in
that
the class.
the same-
That professor is at Victoria University. Please call him
the same.
to verify his
It's the same
statement.
concern amongst so many, that what happens to these people who get 4, who get 8 in 8, what happens to them who get 25 at A level? As in, what happens to to these?
Do you know what the newspaper say? These are not classified. The word classification now means in Uganda, they failed. No parent in Uganda today wants to hear their children failed.
They pay and ensure that you.
They were not assessed.
assessed.
President, you used to be my friend. I still regard you as my friend. Honorable Janet Museveni. Why don't you answer these questions? Please, somebody in education ask him. What does it mean to say they are not classified? You see, in Uganda today, when they say the inquiries are still going on, today it means we are not interested.
So, what's your take? So, are you pro or against the retake? Do you want these students to come and do their whole year, or you would prefer that they come and sit just one paper? And
The research we used to have,
the
and I
retake.
can tell you, if a man failed one subject to a woman by a few marks, they say the pass mark is 40 marks, but he only got 47 or 46. Then the rules said that one can be allowed to repeat
Just one.
because he narrowed failed that subject.
Just one paper.
So one paper.
Not
only.
the whole year.
He
as
passed
has been.
the others. Where the margin was, he got 0 or 5%. Obviously, he knows nothing about the subject. So he should repeat that subject for a whole year. Because you can't
That's
receive
how you
next
would-
week when you know
so that's-
nothing about it. That was the point. And it made logic. Those who fail badly,
They should do
they should
relearn.
recite the paper.
You relearn the whole.
Yeah,
the whole
because you
subject
learned
because you don't-
nothing.
and forgot nothing.
If you got less than 10 marks,
out of 100,
yeah, you repeat the subject. But if you
But
got 40, 45, the examiners have a discretion of saying
recite
you
for exam.
repeat only this subject while you are combining it with next year's subject. That is the logical thing. Many Ugandans make statement without knowing the background. If you ask me everything in our constitution, because I was the chairman of the legal and drafting committee, and there is not one word
that you do not
which
remember.
passed there. And I admitted to one which me and the Kabuma Semagolo did in the constitution. And that is,
Fountain of honor.
that is the
Fountain. Is that
a
the fountain of honor?
fountain of justice. Then the president misused it. He used it is only to grant mercy to those who have been convicted, already convicted, not to forgive those who are accused.
I would ask you in 2 also minutes to have your closing remarks.
So let's call the minister. Where is my
then,
phone? Where is the David?
We shall literally call it a day
David.
as he brings.
Oh, you want me to do one?
Yeah, your closing remarks.
Yes.
Just and then we shall call the minister later.
My closing remarks is
Especially to these
Ugandans.
thieves also. To these, I don't know. I don't want to call them
Oh,
thieves, but they
I
are
am
making
going to call boss. I know where boss are.
most of them, you know where they are. So most
Yes,
of them,
I take this
they are
picture.
copying.
And all I'm asking my friends, including Kasaija,
Or both of both.
or
Kadaga.
both, and Kadaga, is please speak on this allegation.
Yeah.
So I said, your answer will be discussed even immediately.
As soon as they.
I will tell the managers and the publishers of Alternative Digital, or if you want, I am also having this program next Wednesday,
After you have heard from them.
and I will be happy to convey your answer.
Okay, viewers, let's keep it Alternative Digital. In the evening, we are. We'll
But
have
where
our
is
show,
David?
the Caribbean link. Yeah. So
David,
see you today at 7.
where is David? Call him. He's always forgetting.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.